All right, welcome back. We're working on Gem Wars. What we've done so far is we've created this matchmaking server. We have it interacting with Mongo. We've created our matchmaking polling service, which polls Mongo, and then opens up a TCP server, which we're now going to connect to from a game server and try to finish up this loop here. So the first thing I want to do is we can see that Jenkins finished successfully. So now I can go in here to my project. And now I can update this to 6.12, I'm sorry, 1.62. And now everything should work fine. Okay, so we've made a matchmaking server and a matchmaking server poll. This thing will continue to spin until a server gets queued. I could make this more efficient and have individual queues for individual servers, but I don't think this matters because this doesn't really receive that much traffic. And then we send this to the user, the made packet match made games. We're sending this to the server, which is in our case either a single player or a multiplayer server. So let's create that. We're going to make a new project here, and it's a worker service. And I'm going to call this a PHS Gem Wars single player. We'll say game single player. I want to go back. I'm going to make this a games single player. And in here, we're going to add one for game single player. Okay, we're going to call this a game single player worker. And let's go take a look at my server game down here. Here you have a different number of these game managers. And a game manager kind of manages all of this stuff. This is what we're going to scrap. So we're going to move this messages received into here. And we're going to have this thing connect. Just a second. So we're going to have two iterations of this, a server game single player BLL. And then another one for multiplayer. Okay, so we want to have this messages received here. Right, to follow suit with these ones. Right. And now we want to say that this is a server game multiplayer BLL. And then this one we want it to be a server game single player. DLL. Pardon me. So back over here, we only need this one client. We need messages received. And we have our game managers. So now what I want to do is that all looks right. And this is now going to have a new type on it, which is a where T is a type of game manager generic BLL. And this is where everything's going to tie together. So you need to have a T, U, V, W, X, Y, Z, and I think an A, right? And then a BO and a BOVM and a GVM and an APP. So that's a T, U, V, W, X, Y, Z, A, B, O, B, O, V, M, B, G, V, M, APP. Okay, let's keep going. Where my T is a we can just copy this. Okay. And so now this can be a game manager generic BLL. So just a GM called game manager, just one of them. We want this to be abstract. And now in the multiplayer, we need to fill this out, which is a game manager multiplayer BLL. And then a match instance DTO, match single player, multiplayer BLL, match set instance DTO, match set multiplayer BLL. It's been a while since I've had to do this stuff. Round instance DTO. This is round multiplayer BLL, game instance DTO, game multiplayer BLL. And then we have a board BLL, right? Because I only have board and board single player. Come on, computer. Oh my God, did this just crash on me again? Did the same thing to me yesterday. So crazy. Game manager multiplayer BLL. Match instance DTO. Match single player BLL. Match set instance DTO. Match set single player BLL. This needs to be multiplayer for all of these. Round instance DTO. Round multiplayer BLL. Game instance DTO. Game multiplayer BLL. Board BLL. Board VM. And I wanted to check that one. There's only one type of board VM. Board single player VM. And then we have a game multiplayer VM. And then the last one is an action drawer play piece multiplayer BLL. I'm sorry, VM. Okay, so this is failing because there we go. Because of that. Okay. And let's do the same thing on the single player. And this first one is a game manager single player BLL. Just checking. Board single player BLL, board single player VM. There we go. Okay. Sorry, I'm just generating the constructors here for these. Okay. And so now in your game, BLL, your game manager is of type GM, which is right. We have our clients, we have our new messages coming in here. So let's add our logic here for the new messages. So it's right here and on message event. Right, okay. So the game server needs to be listening for when this thing posts over this message. And it's a type packet match made games. So I want to take this one, and we want to first add this switch, and with this deserialization, we'll just take this whole method here. And we'll make this a protected virtual asynchronous task. And when we do this, we want to receive a packet Now this is for everything, so I think I already have this done over here in Game Manager, which is that, hold on, come on. There we go. Which is in Game Manager, this whole thing. Okay, and the first thing it's going to do is make it into a packet. And then if that works, I'm going to get the DTOs of it here. And I'm just going to send this to Game Manager. So if I look at this, I have an on message event in here, which should be in here, public. Which only takes in a packet. So I can save some processing, and I can just do a game manager dot on message event asynchronous of my packet and then my args. Okay, the reason why this isn't working is because we also need a server on this one. So here we have this server. I want to have my public override update and do a game manager dot update my update interval. And then I also want to have these three. And here I'm going to create my server. And it's going to pass in a params TCP server auth. And then a user service, which we'll deal with in a minute. And then a handler. So the user service that you want for this is the regular one. And this one's going to say connected to game server, to gemwars, phs.gemwars.game server. This is going to say could not connect to game server. My end of line characters are that. And my port will be my globals dot. And if I look at this one more time, I'm going to add a new port in here. For a matchmaking, and this is going to be called game single player port, TCP port. And then we want another one for the multiplayer. Okay. If I look at my create request, second. Because I kind of want to pass the port through this create request. But these ones are static. My dispose here needs to have these lines in it. Okay. And this is going to be on TCP server error event. And so when this comes in, you want to do a await game manager dot on message event, and we want to send my those. And here it wants a packet. So the same deal. Just like that. Okay. So that's done. And in my client is connected to the poll. So what I want to do now is switch on my packet.packet type. And if it is a match made games, I'm going to want to request the game. So and I got the update on that, right? Okay, cool. So my packet looks like this. So I want to get my var packet match made games equals my JSON convert.deserialize object this of my args.message. And then here I'm going to do a console.writeLine test. And here we'll do a return task.completed. These two need to be protected virtual. And if I look back at my matchmaking one, my matchmaking BLL, this one, here on server error event, we're just going to wait 50 seconds and then start it again. Wait, I don't see it on the disconnect. You want to have this start up, and this is okay to have in there now. There we go. On client connection event, we want to have this. And that's it. Okay. So that's what we'd like. That looks pretty good there. So now we're going to create our instances for our app. So 1 second. Okay. If I look here, I've got some errors. Looks like that's in the globals, so just a second while I add that. Okay, I've added those. Let's rebuild it. Almost there. No errors though. Let's try it again. It doesn't want to tell me what the errors are, so we'll do this old trick. Man, this is just not going to help me. Is it in the project? Unity will show me. Yeah, it is. So it's something in here. Let's close Unity and I'll reopen it. But anyways, so now here in my program, we need to create this thing. So let's take a look at my matchmaking pull. And we'll pull this stuff in here. So we always want to have our globals and our auto mapper. I don't know if we need that yet, so let's add Mongo. And then down here, we're going to do my server game single player BLL. We don't know this ID yet, so we'll leave that out for now. And this one's going to be a game single player. So the next one is a game manager single player BLL. And then a iServer DAL and a globals. So we have server DAL up there. We have globals. We need to do this game manager single player BLL. Okay, in this, I have to do it the other way. Where I have to create this first, right? Because right now when this gets instantiated, it requires the server which is being created here. So if I look at this one again, I'm just going to add a new function in here called public virtual void I don't want to do that because I think it's wired up. So in that case, I'm going to do this one a little differently. Where we don't pass in this game manager, we create it. And we'll have a protected abstract void called create game manager. Okay. Okay, here's our abstract class where we create this. So this is going to return a new game manager BLL, which is going to have a TCP server, a MongoDB service, a data access layer, and a globals. which means that here, where I have my abstract, I want to have a game data access layer called game data access layer. I want to have another one here for the Mongo database service called Mongo database service. And then in here, I'm going to add a protected read-only game data access layer called game data access layer, and a protected read-only Mongo DB service called Mongo DB service. We want that, the server data access layer, the game data access layer, the Mongo database service, and our globals. We need the same one for the multiplayer. It's a game data access layer, Mongo DB service called Mongo database service. And it's that, and then the DAL, and then the game data access layer, and then the Mongo database service. We need to have our abstract here, which is just going to return a new one of these, which is going to have my TCP server, my Mongo, my game data access layer, and a globals. So when I look at this one more time, game manager is handled here. And then we're going to do a game manager.dispose. Yes, Zuri's asked, is this all to do with making the game online? Yep, we're doing our servers. So it looks something like this, where we have users who have locales in different areas of the globe. So we have a swarm of matchmaking servers that the users will ping and then select the matchmaking server with the lowest ping. Then we're using Mongo to store those users when they select that they would like to start a game. We have a matchmaking polling service that every few seconds goes and polls Mongo. I want this to be perennial data in case something goes down. And then using TCP, that alerts each of the game servers of the games that were created and assigns them. And then that is where the game connect information is then transmit back across to the users who then connect to the game servers. That's what we're doing right now. So we can get rid of that and that one. Server, game, create, that's not right. This is not right here. This needs to be another type. Like that. Like that. And then like that. Okay. And on the multiplayer one, there we go. So back up here on my game single player, we're now passing the correct type. We have our provider.get service game data access layer. We also have a provider.get service Mongo database service, and then the globals. And that's it. That should connect up to the matchmaking server, and everything should now be wired up and ready to go. Let's give it a test just to see what happens when I run this server. Yeah, it's complicated. Okay, we'll go here and do a start new instance. Oops. It's building it in Docker, and we don't want that. We gotta wait for it to finish. It's gonna take just a second. There we go. So I want to just start this one as my startup project, and we don't want to use Docker. I don't know. Most of my life. I started when I was young. I went to college for hydrology. I did that for like 10 years, and then I came back to this. So I don't know. I've jumped around a little bit. Okay, so we can see the service is running. If I look at my generic here, we should see that this client is trying to reconnect. Pardon me. Every 5 seconds or so. Okay, what I'm forgetting to do is in the program here, I'm sorry, in the worker, I need to inject these things. So for example, I have, let's see, I should probably, if I look at this MongoDB thing, does this have a dispose? I have to pull Mongo database. I don't see it. No, so that's fine. So the only one that I need to worry about here is my server game single player BLL, called server game single player BLL, which is a private read-only server game single player BLL, server game single player BLL. And then we'll do it here. And then we want to do a await server game dot start asynchronously. And that should start it now. It doesn't include the polling ID. So in your create here, we have this poll ID, and I want to get my context here is my provider.get service of my I application database context or something. That's not even registered. It's my I server data access layer. And then what I want to do is I want to get my get server matchmaking poll of my, and we want to have a new using var context equals new application database context, which is going to need my provider.get service of my iGlobals. And we want to do this as a await, and it's synchronous, so we want to do a result. And now what I want to do is I want to get my first one, the ID. Let's check to see what happens here. 5 reboots later and everything is as it should be. Oh God. Yeah, you might need to invest in a second computer that's just like your new server. So we got 21 of them, that's fine. There it is. The server's running. We'll allow it through. We're going to connect. There's no way that's running. should fail because it's not connected, right? Why isn't that failing? Try it again. This should be failing right now. When I look at this, it says it's running. It says it's connected. What is it connected to? Nothing should be running. But the server that it's opening oh God. Okay, this is confusing here because this is the server of the game. So when I look at these create requests, everything's got a URI, a port, and an IP address, which makes sense. That's for the local connection, which means that this one goes to my game I want to have my port. Just a second. My port, my URL, and my IP for both of these. Almost done. Okay. So this is my game single player IP address. And this is my game TCP port for single player. And this is my game TCP URL. Now we'll run it again. Okay, I have to add these variables, so just a second. Almost done. Okay. Let's run it again. Okay, it should try to connect now. Good, it failed. Cool, it's going to try to connect again. So now that's working. So if I were to start all of the services, okay, let's see if it ever gets here to this single player. That's the matchmaking one. That's the matchmaking poll. And that's the game single player ticking away here. So when this started, it should be connected to that client. So when we start the game, and now we request one. It's going to store that in Mongo. And now over in the poll, it's trying to send my game when I only have one server queued, which is matchmaking. So if I was to start this one, and now what I want to do is start my game single player. We start the server, and with the client we connect. It says I'm connected. But that I never sent a token. So the problem is that I never sent over the OAuth token, which is my create request dot token dot toString. And if I was to look at the matchmaking, which is the opposite side of this, you can see I passed the same thing. So now we'll run it. Let's retry it. Hey, we submit the game to Mongo. There we go. I've picked up the game. In my servers queued, I have 1. Of matchmaking type. So if I look at my matchmaking program, okay, and then I want to look at this one. Because this is passing the token, right? So in the database, if I look at my servers, for my discriminator, I do see server game in here. So it is creating them. Isn't this exactly the same? It looks like it's exactly the same. I'm just going to try these two again. We'll start up the matchmaking poll. And then the game single player. Starts the server, starts the client. We get my connection here, which is of type disconnect. This should be reconnecting. Let's try it again. Here it is, and it's saying disconnected. So it's failing this service, right? But then it's never erroring or having a connection problem. So let me take a quick note that .NET TCP client is not detecting a disconnect. That's odd. Let's do it again. And I want to look at my matchmaking service here. So here it is, my token. This is the wrong token. So the reason it's failing is because on TCP, on Web API, I need to do a add migration. Nope, that was not it. I'm going to try that again here. Okay, let's do this one now. It starts. This time I get my ID. We got my entity, which is not null. But it's of type server game. Which means that on the data, on the business logic layer, where I'm creating my server, here, this is a server single player create request and a server game multiplayer create request. Now it should work. Okay, it connects. I get my server. It's valid. Token's valid. We're now connected. So now we can start everything. Okay, and we'll start the game. Oops, sorry. Okay, it's connecting. We're connected. We'll request a single player game. Mongo should pick it up. We're now going to have my 2, and we're going to send this over to my server. And this failed because this needs to have your packet type. So one more try. Let's start the game one last time. Okay, let's do an open play. There it is. It sends to the single player, and we've received it. And there's our game with our player in it. Okay. So the next thing that we're going to do is that we have to take this game request and actually create the real game and then pass that back to the users to have them connect. So a different way to do that would be that the server, the game server now, would construct the game, and as soon as that's complete, it would send the connection information to each of the clients, and then they would connect to it. So we're getting pretty close, but I need to stop for the day. We've been going for over 5 hours. Thanks for staying with me today. If you have any questions, always make sure you check us out at discord.pixelhorrorstudios.com. I put all these videos up at youtube.pixelhorrorstudios.com. Thanks again. We'll be back in a couple days. I'll see you guys later. Have a good one.